It's oatmeal cookie waffles today, and I put pears on the side and blackberries. So this recipe, I made waffles for both us and the dogs today. Cinnamon is good for dogs' dental health, so why not give them some? Now, my waffles don't look that great because I cut my pears too soon.
You got a bit tarnished. It looks phenomenal though. Just concentrate, if you will, folks at home, on the, these are blackberries, right?
Yes.
And the waffles. And they looked a whole lot better a few minutes ago. You know, the pears I'm talking about.
I got a battery for my watch, so now I know the time and the date all the time.
Yeah.
It's almost 7 a.m.
Yeah.
On August the 10th.
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah. Lethbridge, Alberta.
So, yeah, you can make, this doesn't have any sugar in it besides the sugar from fruit. You can make cookie waffles or cake waffles with any recipe or based on any recipe that, I guess based on, because I don't think anybody's come up with cookie waffles besides me. But maybe. I mean, really, waffles are kind of cake, right? Why not? Anyway, so you can make them with any kind of recipe that you have that calls for brown sugar. You can use dates. So you just, you can get dates already munched up, but I don't. There's a piece of date right there. What I do is I slice them, and then I run boiling water over them for a rinse beforehand. Then to slice them, and then soak them in the amount of water that I'm going to use for my cookie waffle. That's a good cookie. And you're probably, I don't measure anything, so I can tell you, if you're making cookie waffles with eggs, and your pups probably will prefer it, use 2 eggs for, I'm guessing, maybe 4 cups of oat ground into flour, and about a teaspoon of cinnamon, I'll say, and about a teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Yeah, these waffles do. Oh, sorry, I thought you'd finished.
No, they're good.
Do taste quite sweet, like a pastry.
So then your dates, maybe a cup of dates, or maybe a little less, and what else do I? And baking soda. Put a teaspoon of baking soda, and that's it. And, well, the water. And maybe that's about a cup. Maybe a cup and a half or something. I don't know. I don't measure. And it's good to get in the habit of not measuring. Just going by feel. I mean, you know when your batter is the right consistency. Maybe make a waffle recipe, a good waffle recipe, and get 5 stars on the internet. You don't need to buy a book nowadays to find a good waffle recipe, I'm sure. And that's good. So make it once, just as directed. I used to really like buttermilk waffles. And then sort of start monkeying with it, you know. Just say, okay, well, this is how much fluid I need for this much dry. And just start wiggling around in there. And you'll come up with so many really awesome recipes. And you'll never need to measure again. Just, like, I put the baking soda or whatever in my hand, and I know what it looks like every time when I'm putting it in. And so really, when I give you a teaspoon measurement, well, I don't know. I haven't used a teaspoon to measure in 25 years, probably. So, the vanilla I just lug in. But the baking soda I put in my hand, because sometimes when you're dumping out the baking soda, you get a lot more than you bargained for. So I want to make sure I don't put too much, or you can taste it and it's gross. But the right amount, you don't taste it, and it makes it good. That's a good time. So yeah, you can use any recipe or whatever cookie recipe that you've loved in the past, or cookie type that would use brown sugar. Use dates instead. That's all. Really easy. And this, I brought out this box because it has a vanilla butter cake recipe on the back, and I know why they put it on there, because it takes 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, and that's got to be close to the whole bottle. I mean, this was $9 for. But honestly, this is a great recipe, or it's good to start making cookie waffles in the late summer or fall, because when you can get away with, when you can start getting away with heating up the house without making it uncomfortable during the day, this makes for beautiful incense. Whole house will smell lovely.
So that applies to the more temperate climes.
Yes.
I think even you're in New York in August, you would be able to do that.
Yeah, this might be a winter recipe for you.
I can recall visiting New York just a little bit before Labor Day and finding it absolutely sweltering. I don't know how people stand living much south of there.
Yeah. Anyway.
Because it wasn't as though it was a heat wave. Frankly, I don't know how people stand living in Toronto in the summertime. Generally, when I'd visit there, it would be in late August. And
so good.
it was unpleasant, humid, and hot. And Toronto's not that far south. If I'm going to have to put up a heat, I'd rather put up what we get here ordinarily. I'm not talking about what we're having. And we're up around 38. When the heat dome went over. So that was in July.
Was it in July here? I mean, I thought it started. Well, maybe it was the end of June.
It could have been.
It was awful.
It lasted for quite a while.
And I feel sorry for all the critters, wild critters out there. I don't know what they're going to eat this fall, like the bears.
Oh, it'd be awful.
I mean...
There was someone killed by a bear recently. And a black bear, and that's, I think, highly unusual.
Yeah.
It was a woman. I think the bear might have been stalking her.
It was probably hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it been eating? They've got to really bulk up for winter so they can hibernate through it. With what? I mean, have you been hiking out in the mornings or whatever, looking at what the berries were like this year? Not great for the bears.
It would be awful.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be enough water, I think, if they were around rivers
Yeah.
that came from the mountains. But down in Saskatchewan, they've got some rivers, lots of rivers there that might arise in Alberta, but not in the mountains. And I gather, that they're showing the riverbeds and those types of rivers. I don't know what's going to happen if we don't get the snowfall up in the mountains. It's going to be very unpleasant for all sorts of people and animals.
Well, the farmers need to start using drip irrigation. They need to realize that there's no dry land farming down south here now. None. You can't do it. So you're going to be getting a bunch of government handouts. Put that into drip irrigation system, and maybe you want to stick in an orchard or something.
It'd be hard to do with grain
Drip
crops.
irrigation. Yeah. And
So a while back, continue.
No, go ahead.
A while back, I was looking into it. So hopefully it's changed. But there were only 2 countries, my source indicated, that use drip irrigation. Australia.
Well, probably extensively. I mean, some people use.
Exactly right.
Right. Like I have no
this
problem
is
with my
around
garden.
here.
James has the best tomato crop. He's never really pulled off gardening until this year. And I'll show you what it looks like. He has done amazing work on his tomatoes. So
That's gardening on
the
my
gardeners that have been unsuccessful this year, the farmers, why are you getting handouts? You should have seen this coming. Have you not been paying attention to what's been going on in California? You really should have been seeing this coming. So you have crop insurance and you get government handouts. Oh, well, good for you. Well, put it into some drip irrigation system, some water catchment systems, because you're going to need to get that water whenever it gets to you and hold on to it until you need it. If you don't do that, well, you really shouldn't be farming. Not here. Just dumb. Anyway.
So as I was saying, this
sorry.
would be extensive. No. It's important to get all sorts of ideas in. Don't mention it now. Mention it later. So it'd be extensive, the use of drip irrigation. Where Australia and Israel, so many folk gauchos going to say, Israel wastes water in the middle. You liars. Liars. Faux gauchos with your faux gauchery. Liars. Always demonizing Israel and Zionists and stuff like that.
No, they're doing amazing things in Israel. I was looking at some of their greenhouse crops that they've... got plenty of sun there. Tomatoes that were like... Maybe I'm exaggerating when I say 20 feet tall, but I don't think so. Anyway.
So the surrounding Arabs, instead of wasting money on rockets and the military, I'm not just talking about Hamas and the Gaza Strip, get into some irrigation agriculture. Sleaze buckets. Now there are the occasional Arabs around there that aren't fundamentalists or pan-Arab nationalists or nationalists. The Palestinians themselves, the Palestinian so-called liberation organization, not about liberation at all. Were kind of a break-off of pan-Arab nationalists. They were more like just Palestinian nationalists, a nation that Arabs never really acknowledged as a nation. The idea was more like the nation is Muslim. Palestinian.
Oh, and if you're going to make cake like waffles, it's probably better to go with the xanthan gum, even if you like eating eggs, because you get a really nice fluffy, it's like eating a cloud. So your kids will be like, oh wow, this is amazing. How did you get it so fluffy? That's the xanthan gum. So, plus, well, the baking soda and stuff. But anyway, okay, you can go back to talking. I just wanted to get that out.
It doesn't matter. Whatever I don't deal with now, I'll deal with later. So yesterday, if you tuned in, all one or two of you out there in internet land, you recall I was reviewing these two books together. Illiberal Education, The Politics of Race and Sex on Campus by Dinesh D'Souza. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I believe Dinesh is actually a Muslim. So this guy's ancestors might have come from Pakistan or Bangladesh. And the other is Revolt of the Elites, The Betrayal of Democracy, Christopher Lash. And he's talking about the so-called West, the elites in the West. I was mentioning, I did dealt to a large extent with Dinesh D'Souza yesterday. I'm going to talk today a little bit more about the revolt of the elites. Now this guy's diagnosis is fairly good. This dates from, as of 1995, Dinesh D'Souza, 1991. So, 30th year anniversary of Dinesh D'Souza, we're a generation in. And we're almost a generation in for the revolt of the elites. And the Fogoshes have not taken into account what the guy is saying here. They've gotten worse with their political correctness and affirmative action, and they keep on having trouble getting Democrats elected in the United States, getting the Liberal Party, much less the NDP, elected here in Canada. We had a run of, I think it was 9 years, parts of 9 years, almost 9 years, of a fairly conservative, or unfairly conservative administration under, well, squatting under the rather substantial hindquarters of, or squatted under rather substantial hindquarters of Stephen Harper. And it's to a large extent because the Fogoshes have made left-wingers unpopular. People believe in democracy by alienating huge whacks of people who they otherwise should appeal to. I'm talking specifically, but it isn't exclusively, about white working class males they're demonized by the folk oceans. I can recall one woman recently saying, "Why don't they vote for us? We represent them." No, you don't. Lying liar. You don't represent them. I do. Back in my working days, I worked janitorial, I worked landscaping, I worked truck driving, I worked groundskeeping, machine operating, working class jobs. All the while learning huge swacks of languages, reading huge swacks of books, and doing huge swacks of research. It's possible to do all that stuff. If you're raising kids, it's a little bit different. While you're raising kids, and men should be responsible for the kids that they are responsible for propagating, as much as women. Then there'll be commitments in time. It's not forever, but for 18 years or so, they're responsible. Not just financially. They're responsible in terms of raising them, socializing them, educating them. So this guy's thesis is the elites in the West have deserted the ideal of democracy. They wouldn't have been that thrilled about that idea in the first place. I'm on board with that diagnosis. So he's saying the elites, two main elites, economic elite, that'd be the capitalist class. So I use that capitalist. I don't like the term bourgeois, where the learned people are lumped in with the capitalist class. They're different. That's like the teachers and all that sort of stuff. And the professionals. What? That's stupid. And so, of course, you had people in the Soviet Union, when it was just starting to be the Soviet Union, during the Civil War. They're going around and hammering with professionals. They're bourgeois. I can't remember the exact.
The people with skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid. So I can recall reading the memoirs, translated in this case, of a woman who's a daughter of a doctor. And the commies turn up in their black, like almost like bomber jackets. Not really bomber jackets, but black leather jackets. And they're trashing the place. Mm-hmm. And the poor doctor is saying, what they're doing is they're smashing bottles of pharmaceuticals, medicine, smashing them on the floor. And then they start going after his card index.
Yeah.
He was doing research, unlike so many doctors. And he's saying, you can do whatever you want, but please leave those. They smashed them and they turned them over, and they got all in the medicines and all that sort of stuff. Ruined them. That's commies for you.
Yeah, well, if you want to have a successful... They're calling them
bourgeois.
If you want to call it a communist revolution, I don't have a problem with it. I think, that term communism has been so polluted and perverted that you probably want to come up with a different term. And honestly, socialism has been perverted now too. And so think up some other... But you're not going to have a successful... revolution. It needs to be a silent revolution, a non-violent revolution, and it needs to promote education and educated people. So without that, you're going backwards. You're not moving ahead. You're not helping anyone. You're not helping society out.
Oh, they're helping themselves.
Yeah.
But, to all sorts of things.
revolutions we've seen that have called themselves communist have been led by aggressive people. And
Aggressive
they're
dictators.
self-serving.
And there have been some
Everyone else be damned.
aggressive propagandists.
Yeah.
Those tend to be killed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
They're unreliable,
Mm-hmm.
but aggressive, very aggressive dictators and very dictatorial.
Rulers. Yeah.
Rulers. So where I part ways with this guy is he divides it into at least two different elements, and one is quite properly divides it between the capitalist class, although he doesn't use these terms quite, and the professional class.
Mm-hmm.
How we doing for time?
You still have about 3-4 minutes to wrap it up.
I'll just give an introduction to it.
Okay.
So he's saying, and quite properly, that the professional class has been more like a left-wing elite, but they've deserted the idea of democracy. Oh, that's so true. Particularly the people in universities. You listen, you profs, you so-called professionals, you're unprofessionals. I run across some very nice ones, so if you're watching and you've been nice to me at university, I'm not talking about you. So, and then of course there are the business people, and they tend to be, there'd be the small businessmen, it'd be like the people who supported the Nazis back in Germany. They'd support populism, and there's big businessmen, the globalists, and that's really what he's talking about. The people that I'm concerned about are the people, he talks about them being a priestly class now. Yeah. We've been talking about them before. I ever ran across this book about them being the latter-day Brahmins. I'm not talking about the Brahmins of
India.
New England. Oh, no. Well, I'm talking like that. But I'm not talking about the Brahmins. It's used to describe the globalists and stuff like that in New England, in the United States. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a priestly class. And then I'm talking about the globalists tend to be the merchants, right? Which is the Vaisyas like the Vaisyas in India. So these elites have revolted against the lowest class, which would be like the lowest class in India. He isn't talking about the Kshatriyas, the military class and stuff like that, although he could include them with the globalists, the capitalists in the United States. So what I'm concerned about, because those folks ain't going to be that nice, but what I'm concerned about, and like I'll talk about the globalists other times, but what I'm concerned about in connection with this is the priestly class. Now the big trouble is, he's saying a meritocracy is opposed to democracy. But this is the way we actually keep control over the priestly class. We don't let them choose their own buddies and family members to continue their hegemony. We don't allow that, and the way we do that is by having a meritocracy with objectively marked tests, so SATs, GREs, and stuff like that. That's the only way people get advanced and passed.
Mm-hmm. And nowadays they should be able to have it double blind.